waiting on my moment to hear. Next it's time to optimize. H2O's essential to life. Give it a try. Optimize.
What's up, everybody? You know how we get started with a nice and because that just feels so darn good. Inhale. I am so particularly thrilled about today's interview because I'm not even going to give away. You can already see a picture. I'm not going to give too much away right now, but just know I'm extremely excited, and this will probably be the second most exciting interview for me. And I'll share those reasons with you here out the while. I hope that you had an opportunity to breathe with me. Just because we all just need to take a breath sometime. I said it the last time, breathing is better than a cigarette. I promise you that, and there's science to back that. Nonetheless, this platform is to produce, this is the H2O podcast, and it's to produce content that raises awareness of relevant topics with the intent that healing and optimization is kept at the forefront. My aim is to reduce SAD, stress, anxiety, and depression while increasing happy, health awareness, positivity, potentially your best life. Join the wave, join these healing streams. This season, which I'm in season, I believe, 3. This season, I want to focus on providing a means for people to tell their story the way they want to tell it. My role is to create engaging questions and facilitate dialogue that enhances the way those stories are told. Short mission, a health educational platform ranging from physical, emotionally, and spiritual topics. Business highlight, just like my last podcast, I'm really wanting to help thrust my parents' businesses out there. They are in the Humble, Texas or Houston area. You have the Barber's Corner LLC and Secrets Hair Technologies LLC. Combined, my parents have a work experience over 60 years, about 60 years working in the hair loss industry, or excuse me, the hair industry. Mr. Kenneth Robinson has been a barber, like I said, over about 30 years. Mrs. Robinson, Andrea Robinson, would like to be notarized as a certified hair replacement expert. Okay, you can book your appointment today. You can contact Mr. Robinson at 817-874-3778. Again, that's 817-874-3778. Or you can go and look on his website for his work at krobthebarber.com. That's KROB, thebarber.com. If you want to book with Mrs. Robinson, you can go through her website at secretszhair.com. That's secretshair.com. So just put secrets, put a Z, hair.com. You can book your appointment that way. Okay. We have got all of those housekeeping things out of the way, the announcements out of the way. I'm so ready to jump into our interview tonight. Our interviewee is a coach, teacher, entrepreneur, husband, father, grandfather, motivator, he's inspiring, he's a mentor, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, for your philosophical and intellectual pleasures, the one, the only Coach Rodney Sims, my father. Would you please unveil yourself so that we can see who you are, Pops? The man of the hour. Pop, say something good so I can make sure that I can hear you on my end. Okay, I can't hear you just yet. You still muted on me?
All right, there we go. Technology.
There we go.
Got me now?
Right. I can hear you now. Okay. Thank you so much for being on my platform, man. I know we've talked about it for quite some time, a few months. And so I am thrilled to have you for a great conversation that I'm anticipating and some awesome fun that we're going to have. And so before I let you officially introduce yourself and tell us about your career and what you've been doing, I have a little game I want to play with you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. You let me know if you can't hear, but these are the rules of the game. This is name that tune. Okay, so you get 1 to 3 seconds, okay, because I know that your ear is very well. And let me preface this by saying this. There are 3 people in my life who have had the strongest influence in my life musically, among other things, but musically. That is, I'm going to say my mother, because she carried me in her womb and she had me listening to Babyface and Luther just because of circumstances, a captive audience, should I say. And then my father, who has a wide bandwidth of music that I've been exposed to growing up with them. And then my stepfather, who has a wide base as well. And so when you hear me mention out these rules, I have to be very strict with these because I know that he's going to guess these songs, and I've made it easy in some cases, and I've thrown in a few difficult ones. At least I think that they're going to be difficult, but we'll see. But anyway, all that to say, you get 1 to 3 seconds to listen to the clip, and there is no repeats. You have to name the song, the title, the artist, and the year it was released. So just the year, okay? You don't have to do month. You have 5 seconds to guess. Any questions about the rules?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, let's go with our first one here.
I'm gonna say Tribe Called Quest, 19, maybe 88, 89. Or off Elma.
Let me see. Well, you definitely got the artist right. Do you know the song?
Got the song. No, I got to pass on that one. I can't remember the song.
Okay. You got 1 out of the 3 correct. Yes, it is a Tribe Called Quest, and the song title is "Can I Kick It?"
Oh, I know that.
And the year that it was released was in 1990. Okay.
Okay, I don't feel so bad.
No. I was surprised. I didn't know where it was going to pick up. So I was surprised that you just got it on the base of the song. So let me go ahead and take that one out.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay. Oh no, you got it too much. Okay, what's that song?
You know, that's cool, Moby. Wild Wild West.
Okay. I don't know how that played so quickly, because that was your angels looking out for you on that one. And what year did you guess?
I want to say 86, 87.
You got it. 1987.
Okay. I'm glad you're giving me that year, kind of where I can go link 86 with 87, because it's been a long ago.
No doubt. And you guessed, who is the artist?
That's Cool Mo D.
All right. Okay, let me hit you with this one, since we there. How about this one?
I'm a girl I've never seen in my life.
That is the Fresh Prince with the most famous DJ Jazzy Jeff, and that is Nightmare on My Street.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you remember the year?
That is 1980. 1988, 89.
Okay. And once again, you are correct. That was 1988.
All right.
Since we have Halloween coming up, I thought that may be an appropriate song to play.
That was a good one.
Let me hit you with this one.
That is Michael Jackson. God, SWV did the remix to it. I'm gonna say, oh God, I can hear the lyrics in my head. The year 1990, maybe. And the song is, golly.
3, 2, 1. Well, Pop, definitely it's Michael Jackson. This has been the first one. You were more than a few years off on this one. That was 1979.
What?
And that was I Can't Help It.
I can't help. Oh, okay. Golly.
But I think, what song do you think it was?
I thought that was the one with SWV did the remake.
Human Nature.
Human Nature. Therefore,
That's a good connection. Good connection.
Sounded like Human Nature to me. So, but you know, they loop that stuff all the time. So they go back and you know how they go.
For sure. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with this last one. See if you remember this one.
That would be Jodeci. That's the little cat that's the front singer. I would say Jodeci. It came out when I was in college. So I'm gonna say 90s, 93, 92, 93. Maybe Jodeci. I can't remember the name of the song. I know I'm already off.
Well, this one, it definitely comes as a surprise to me. I thought that you would get this one. The year you were close to, 1996. I'm actually going to play a little bit more so you can hear this a little bit more.
Yeah. God.
And you used to play that song over and over again.
I know it. And this is the problem is that I'm thinking, you know, there was this cat named, what was it, Dallas Austin or something like that. So he was the big time producer for all of them cats, you know, from, you know, Jodeci to I mean, he went across and he was from that area, Atlanta or Dallas or somewhere, but I know he produced that jam. I can't remember. I remember the song.
Well, that was Gina Thompson.
Gina. Man.
Gina Thompson, The Things You Do.
The Things You Do.
And that was the original version of the song. And I remember you played that one. I ended up somehow recording the song and taking it back with me to Dallas because the summer that I had a train with you in Bront, Texas, you played that the entire summer. And I love that song. Okay.
I could kill a song too. That's a bad habit. I'll kill it for like a week straight and then I'll never listen to it again for years. That's probably why I don't remember.
Well, that one, I know it must have bypassed a week for sure because I was with you for a couple of months that summer and that one stayed on rotation. If it wasn't you, then I know I played the song several times whenever I was at the house.
That's good music influence, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, well, I could have easily turned you on to like some, golly, it was some good stuff back there, but there was some bad stuff too that mom used to play that was the stuff you saw. I don't know if you've seen the latest Elvis movie. Have you seen that? Well, in there is some ladies in there who was pretty raunchy, but luckily I didn't do that to y'all, so that's good.
Right. Well, some of the more raunchy music I didn't play. I mean, there was, you didn't play a lot of it, but there was a few.
I got to remember, you came up doing that. It was Luke.
Yeah, yeah, Luke. But you know what? You played some. I don't remember you really playing any Luke, to be honest with you. The album I remember most was DMX. His first album that was released. I think it came out around that time, but by that time I think I just entered into high school. So I don't remember as many of the raunchy ones. Most of the songs you listen to, I mean, Scarface and some that really had some profound messages in them that, now to this day, when I go back and listen to the messages of the songs, I realize how impactful and powerful they were.
Right. Those are classics, man, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so there's plenty other games and things I have lined up, but I do want to get into some of this interview and talk to you because you're my pop, and I want this to be something I can go back and listen to, as well as my brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, your grandchildren, and generations to come. Okay, so tell us, who is Coach Rodney Sims? And this is where you can go back and highlight some of those things in your bio.
Okay. Well, I don't know that, there's a lot of terms, Roderick, as you tend to age, man, you start figuring out that you don't need a whole bunch of things to describe who you are, because I think everybody is ultimately trying to get to this one thing or two things. But as you sort through and you come down that line called life, man, I think you figure out that it's not many words. So it's more, I think if I had to choose one, I would say obsessed.
Okay.
But in a sense of, positively and a healthy sense of being obsessed. When, you want to be good at something, the big battle to get to that point is having people around you who understand that, you're not accepting anything other than, working toward that thing of being successful. So I think obsessed is a term, and I think that drives me every single day, is to wake up and be obsessed and not just wake up and, participate. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a participant. I don't want to go to a job and just say I have a job. It's about being obsessed with changing a kid who may be on that path, and you try and make sure that you get obsessed with it, because then I think through obsession is where you get things done, you get things fixed. You don't get much done with the mentality of I got to go to work today, and I gotta. I think that I'd be the same if I was cleaning the carpet, or if I was cutting grass, if I was, whatever, God put out there for me to be, then I think that, I would be that same person. So it's pretty much down to, at this point in my life, I think it's just one word, and that's just being obsessed about trying to get nailed. Sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not, but you have to wake up yourself every day and just be the exact same. And you twist and maneuver little things that need to be fixed, and a lot of it sometimes is with yourself. And, but you give that information to people. I think that it helps them grow. You just planting seeds. So I think that's what I've been able to do in my career. A lot of people think the winning part of it is great. I love the development part of it, which is watching students go from one particular set mindset to grow and become something more or better, and it doesn't have to match up with what the other person is doing. So getting that message across, I think it's more important than any football record. I think it's more important than, the years that I've done it. even though, I've done it for 25 years, but, to me, I've been doing it since I was maybe 11 or 12, even 10, because all of the nephews and coaching them and getting them ready for what they were doing. So pretty much my whole life I've been doing it. Some people you have impact on, and you hope they take the message. And I've been fortunate to have a lot of people take that message and run with it and do some things far outside of the field, but, accomplish and be more than the game. The game is a vehicle that can be used, but it's not about the score all the time. It's about going through. Now, of course, I want to win more than anybody.
Sure.
But until you get everybody with that obsessed mindset, a lot of times you have these rocky points. And that's the process in which, you go through to take something that was from pretty much counted out and broken to a point of believing in themselves. Then that's bigger than a scoreboard to me.
Well, let me say this, man, that the jewels are already dropping, and that's one of the things I love about talking to you is because it's always something. It's unassuming, I guess you could say, but being your son and seeing how what you share there's a commonality, and there's a part of it that never changes. And being able to see the way that you've trained and the way that you train others, I think it's really speaks for itself. And I don't know if you knew this. I know we haven't had this conversation, but when I was in China, something that, because I taught adults, for those who don't know, ESL, but there was a phrase. Now, I don't remember exactly what the Chinese proverb was, but a few of my students would say, one of the things that really made them drive, or if you want to perfect something, is that you have to be obsessed over it. So I find it very interesting that you would use that word, because it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's a part of an ancient proverb in their culture that says if you want to be master over something, you must learn to obsess over it. And for those same reasons that you gave in a nutshell is why they said what they said, because of course their drive at that point was to learn English and to put all of their energies into perfecting their craft, to learn English, to learn to speak it, et cetera, et cetera. So I find it not a surprise, but a surprise that you would use that word to describe who you are at this stage in your life. I think that's pretty powerful, man. Pretty powerful.
But yeah, and it's funny that you and I've talked about this before, is that there's no truly original idea. You know what I mean? They're all original ideas. Don't get me wrong, but there's not really new, because when you approach that horizon, which may be new to you, and somebody may have heard it somewhere before, and they assume, that you had to get that from an outside source. I think there is a spirit in terms of the show, even that there is definitely a spirit that works through everybody and taking them on that journey to where ultimately where you need to be. And if you're paying attention to it, it just guides you there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you will come across these commonalities of people who have also come across that bridge and that horizon where you figure out that there are some things you have to be obsessed about if you really want to be or get to a certain point, during that phase of your life, and then look for the next horizon and the next. And sometimes you don't necessarily think about it. It's just something that comes. Mm-hmm. And in your private moments, when you take time to really sit and listen, I think it takes care of some things that, a lot of times I'm sure most people think, well, I'm going crazy. No, you're not going crazy. Mm-hmm. Those are what I believe to be these angels and spirits that will guide you if you really are listening. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
Well, it's something I do want to highlight that has always stuck out to me in my growing since you said it. It was my junior year in high school, and you had talked about, I don't care what it is, what you decide to be. If you decide to be a manager of McDonald's or of a janitor of McDonald's, do it to the best of your ability. And it's those little glimmer moments that over the course of my years, especially as an adult, that I've looked back. And I talked about this in my book, Almost Doesn't Count or Does It? Integrity, and how that word haunted me for, and still to this day, is a word that haunted me in a good sense, because every time I've thought to do something, and in fact, that summer going into my freshman year, during that summertime, that was one of the lessons that you taught me. It was something as simple as cleaning up, because I just want to get it done, being lazy, halfway want to do stuff. And the thing about you is you would have those talks. And so in that moment, I don't know what it was, but it just clicked. And from that point moving forward, I realized, okay, if you just do it right the first time, whatever right is, if you do it right the first time, you don't have to worry about your parents getting on to you. You don't have to worry about wasting more energy, going back and trying to fix something. Do it right the first time. And it almost felt like that Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid moment, the wax on, wax off, where it's just like, I get it. The wax on is actually a move for this part of life. The wax off is a move for that part of life. So I really just want to attest to that, man, and how impactful that's been to me over my journey, even with the working out. And I may be just jumping ahead of time, and I'll come back to this. But all of those things have just been breadcrumbs over my life, and I didn't realize what you were doing. And I don't even know if you realized what you were doing at the time of teaching these certain principles of discipline, integrity, of perseverance, the second wind, all of those things that seemed so far off and so crazy until you have those moments and you realize, wow, this is really, it's a real deal. And then when you get older and you have particular moments that seem very unrelated that show back up, you say, man, this was like metaphysics back then. This was a metaphysical journey that was happening with these key core simple principles that just begin to emerge and unpack themselves just in this infinite kind of way, just this way of just kind of flowing. And it's like the gift that continues to give, as they would say. Mm-hmm. So I've done my talking on that, but I had to share that with you. If for those who watch any of these, my 1 or 2 people who watch my podcast, for any of those who watch, I always try to stick to a particular time, but I'm not even going to stick to a time. Just whenever he got to get off, then we're going to end the show. That being said, the mindset, you're already kind of going into it, Pop, but I wanted to jump right into that because you've been able to acquire a particular mindset that has allowed for you, at least that's the way that I describe it. You may describe it completely different, but you've been able to acquire a mindset that would not allow for you to settle for anything less and to keep going and to keep persevering. What is that, and when did you know that you had that mindset?
I think it comes from, and a lot of people don't really like this feeling, but when you hit a bottom, I think everybody needs to at some point, hit that bottom. And when you hit a bottom, I'm not talking necessarily, with money, or you can even have money and hit a bottom. You can, seem as though everything is kind of working, but I think my father built that in us in terms of, watching him as a kid, and him working 3 jobs for, 31 years or 32 years or something like that. No education, no excuses either though. I mean, it was, if I got to work 18 hours, to make sure that everybody is taken care of, then that's what I'm doing. And so watching him do that, and watching my mother. So it was my environment that shaped me, where it wasn't a lot of talking, but you can watch. You know, your granddad, my father was one of those who, you know, it's not about what you say, it's about the actions. So if you're doing things that are shady, then I mean, most likely, then you've picked it up from somewhere, and you chose to practice that shadiness. But you do have a choice. But I think ultimately, as the person, if you keep that grind, and I think I got it from just my environment and watching, you know, the men who I looked up to in terms of saying that's the way you do it, and you know, it shaped me. And over these years, you develop this easier way to do things. So everything used to be physical. You know, it was, you know, work all day in the sun, or work all day, you know, doing whatever you were doing, playing out in the sun, or whatever it might be. But as you know, you grow older, then you start to think there are smarter ways to do it. And you begin to now put the work in that way mentally too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I have to say this, and even when I had my mom on, I don't know how you all feel about it, but I think it's a badge for me in terms of being raised by teenage parents, because you guys have been parents most of your life. You know,
Sure.
you had a smidget of childhood, and then just like that, you were parents in your early teenage years. So I think that for me has always been a badge of honor. Anytime that I've been called upon to speak in a few places or share my journey and share my story, I've always shared that aspect, because statistically, I mean, you've been a very educated man. Statistically, your kids, us, are supposed to be something completely not what we are, you know, not educated, teenage parents, the whole gamut. And none of us have been teenage parents. You know, we were able to graduate, go to college, you know, graduate, you know, so many other things. Not to make this about me, but I have to share that because I think it's important for people to know that you did most of what you're doing as a teenage father. And when I talk about mindset, this wasn't like you didn't have years to develop that. And I don't know how true it is, but scientifically, men's brain don't even fully develop until you're about 25. And I think that should probably be older, honestly. Women, I think it's about 20 or so. So for you all to have kids by 13 and 14 or 12 and 13, whatever the case is, that by itself is an absolute miracle. And I'm wondering how much of that really kickstarted your journey to building a certain mindset of it doesn't matter, it has to get done.
You know what I think, Roger, with, you know, I often go back, not often these days, but that was one of those times that really you know, you talk statistics. Well, I wasn't supposed to be anywhere here. You, me, any of that. And I'm not saying I made it, but I'm talking about in terms of not going to jail, you know, not, you know, being a person who could go get a college degree based under those circumstances. None of this, you know, me looking at 23 years, 25 years in coaching, that doesn't happen. So it's a rarity, not only on you guys' part, my part, your mom's. It's a rarity to have, you know, that success in your latter life, because normally it would be us just getting started, or we're always spinning. You're not really around, you just kind of living, you know. So with I'm proud of your mom, and no matter what, because her and I both y'all grew up with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the conversation we all had too, and I know I had it with you and Roger, was that, you know, no matter what, you know, we got to win. You know, I was always thinking winning from a standpoint of we can't fail. I mean, we're at the bottom. This is us out here. It is what it is. You know, we're kids. but some way this has got to work out. And I think everybody went to work, and luckily your influences along with mine, you know, we both had that in our lives to look at and go, yeah, I'm not failing. There's just no way I'm going to fail. I know what that looked like. I know what it smelled like. I know what it even tastes like because the foods you eat. I mean, it's a number of things. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it affects every sense. And so when people talk PTSD, you know, me and your mom in that way could have very easily, and we had some trauma.
Sure.
But there was no excuses. She was raised like I was raised. It was, you just get it done. I mean, I don't care. It's about the results, which, by the way, I still live by today. The coaches with me, they know, you know, what I care about is results. That's it.
You know, yeah, I can attest to it. Something I brought up in the interview with my mom was, you know, y'all had these certain phrases. That was yours. Hers was, yeah, you're going to do it. And it's like, combined with that, it's like, we didn't have any excuses, you know, but honestly, and it wasn't just those words, although those words have been something very important and etched in. I'm sure I can speak for my older sister now, but etched in our heart that it's like, it doesn't matter how tough or difficult it get, you find a way and you make a way. But it was hearing y'all's stories, but then also seeing you all go through the struggle. And it was just like, there's just no excuse. You have to get through it. Like whatever it is, you know, in some of my darkest times, you know, I do believe absolutely that the Spirit helped me to traverse through those challenging times. But what was used as agency and as an agent to encourage was those points I remember of, you know, whether it was finding food in random places, I'll just leave it at that, or, you know, bringing food home or wherever you got to get it, you know, making it happen. You know, I remember that. And so those are memories that fuel me no matter how low I've gotten. It's like, oh, this is easy. My parents were raising kids and was doing this and then some. So how dare I choose anything less or complain if I gotta sleep on the floor or if I got, you know, whatever the case is, I gotta walk somewhere. So be it. This is lightweight. So anyway, but yes, absolutely. Okay, so I've already kind of stole some of your thunder on this one. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self and why?
13 years old. Wow. You know what? I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that, but knowing what I know now, I would say do things in order. You know, that's the big thing is you know, yeah, I'm so grateful for you and Rodria and you know, me and your mom back at that time, but doing things in order would be my advice with, you know, making sure that you get your education first, then you go to, you know, graduate high school, and then you at 13 for sure, which would be pre you and Rodria, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But if I had to look at that personnel, which I get to see in my job just about every day, are young kids who I can easily give that testimony and let them know. I see young girls over the years that are pregnant, you know, in high school, and they come to me and talk to me. So I let them know, hey, look, you'll make it. Mm-hmm. You can make it. And if you just really get determined about saying that no matter what, I'm going to college, and no matter what, I'm not going to depend on somebody else. I'm going to make it. Said, if you keep that mindset, then we'll talk years from now and you'll say, hey, I made it. So 13 years, I would say that's number one. And then, I'd say that's it.
Okay. Let me skip you to 17.
Invest. Man, high school is one now where, you know, your brothers, who one of them in particular, Kaysen, is, you know, this kid's been on it since 8th grade when I introduced it to him. With being in cryptocurrency and being, you know, in that world of finance and making sure how to take care of your money, what money is, then it's allowed him and me too, to look back and give that advice. So in a sense, I am talking to my 17-year-old self when I'm giving them advice on some things that, hey, look, we know better now. Right. So it's important that you listen to this and then follow through with it. And then think when you get to me, you know, that in the 50s, then now you're about to live your life. And you at this point really should have been living your life years before even now being right. Me I'm at right now. So definitely invest.
30-year-old self, what would you say?
Ooh, that dude was crazy. 30? Man, I don't know if I even remember who that dude is. I would say he was a dude who, you know, he's just started life with his career in terms of coaching. So he was just now getting to a point where he was making not even good money, but getting paid for my education. Let's put it that way. So I picked up about 40 pounds during that particular time just because I haven't eaten like that. I didn't have the money to do it. So I picked up, I think, about 40 pounds. And then one day I looked at myself and said, at about 30, I looked at myself like, man, look, you're fixing to die in about 10 years if you don't. So I got obsessed and really started looking after, you know, watching everything. So I think at 30, man, don't do nothing stupid. Invest your money and still, shoot, I probably could have been retired if I followed through with some things that I knew about and just didn't do anything about.
Sure. 40-year-old self, what would you say?
Wow, still stupid. Still stupid. You know, not dumb, but stupid, but a kind of a, okay. So we talked about this, not having a childhood, okay?
Sure.
So when you don't have that, and then when at some point you're gonna experience a childhood, no matter what, I don't care what anybody say.
Okay.
So find today in this age is a lot of times these young grandparents, you know, where when I was growing up, well, my grandmother was already in the 60s, 70s. Now you got grandparents who are in their 30s.
Right.
So who still, by the way, have a lot of life left. And because they may have been bogged down by that kid who now has a kid, they didn't get to experience that childhood or that teenage years because you were feeding and working and, you know, you had to take care of responsibility. So I think 40 was still kind of one of those times when, you know, I was still kind of just out there being me, you know, just kind of how I can breathe, how I can, you know. So 40, I was still dumb, but loved that dude was, I liked him.
Okay.
So no really advice for that guy.
Okay. All right. So your number one golden rule, let me ask it verbatim and then it'll just make more sense. So what's your number one golden rule and have you ever violated it? If so, how did you bounce back?
Okay, this is gonna sound really crazy to anybody. This number one, but my number one golden rule, this is how superficial men can be, right? Okay, so typical man, still am, but with this, you're gonna see why. And
Okay.
it's because I broke it. And that was to never date a chick who smoked cigarettes. That was it. That was the number one golden rule, period.
Yeah, I ain't never heard of that golden rule.
Broke it. I broke that. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I punished myself. Not really punished, but I always thought, man, you're a jackass. Why did you know, number one rule? But that was from the time I was like 10. And that up to like in my 30s. But that was number one. No smokers, period.
you broke that. Well, how did you bounce back from that, Pop?
I'm gonna probably get canceled. They ain't even gotten that, but I'm gonna get canceled for that one. Bounce back was just more, don't do it. Just get away from those people who do that. So that's pretty much what I did. Is that I was just like, no, I'm not. The whole. I just couldn't. Of course, I grew up with all my aunties smoking and
Sure. No judgment to the smokers out there. We love you.
smoking, man. So I was just like, never.
So what are you most proud of today and why?
My kids.
Wow.
Period. My kids, man. For y'all to even be here, and that includes your younger brothers and sisters.
Sure.
And, that's my legacy. So I'm knowing that, it's perfect with where they are. I'm good. I could die tomorrow and be great. Just because I know that, it could have been, and I see so many destroyed families and so many destroyed kids and so many, and don't get me wrong, we all got our stuff to carry that's gonna come with you in life. It's not gonna always be easy. Every single one of y'all. I can't save you from whatever journey is coming for you that you gotta take.
No doubt.
Save you from that. So to know that, to find comfort that I know that y'all are built for it, that makes me proud. Because I know that the information that you've been given and you're getting it from everywhere, you're open to it. If I had to go back, one more thing to add to 17 was stop talking and listen, you know what I mean, more. So right now, knowing that I'm able to talk with every one of my kids, with the exception of one, but it at least gives me pride to know that y'all will look after each other. Y'all will, take care of each other. You know how to treat people. You know how to, make it on your own. You're self-sufficient. You mean business. You know what I mean? You even, and I'm glad to see it, that, we got a few who are obsessed with making sure that ultimately you got to win. And again, winning is defined by some of the people who are superficial, that it's a score. No, it's not about a score. There's no scores kept when I speak about winning. It's not that. I think winning every single day, something simple as getting up and breathing, well, you won. You won another day.
Yeah.
Being able to get up and go to work, and that's a win. And some people may overlook that and just think it's automatic, but it's not an automatic.
That's right.
Out of death. Here in the last 23 months, 24 months. So winning comes in many different forms. So I think with knowing that you guys all know, one foot in front of the other, just keep breathing, breathe, just keep moving. Then I think through that process, that's where growth takes place. That's where you're gonna make it. And if you continue to breathe and just keep taking steps and not try to figure it all out at once, know how to say, yeah, I'll come back to that one. You and I talked about catchphrases to catch you from falling, or to catch you. It's, which mine was just nope, 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 nope. And you have to have those, those trigger words, I think, that sets you back on track to continue moving forward and to continue breathing. So pain is pain, man. Everybody's going to go through it, but how we handle it is most important. I think being proud that y'all all are able to have these conversations on our family group text and to share information and news. And I think that's huge. So that's most proud of in terms of my life, for sure.
Well, to piggyback on that, this is not one of the questions I put down, but I will say that it's very unique to see you in almost 2 and 3 generations worth of parenting. You have my older sister and then, me, that we're, in some cases 20 plus years older than our younger siblings. So to see you evolve, but I think as a father, I don't know if I could say that I've seen like this evolution. I've seen like growth, but it's like the core of who you are and the core of what you taught. There's this continuity along each of us. And I think that that's so powerful because you get a chance to see that there are core principles, no matter what stage that you teach them, it's going to have a high likelihood, same results. And so I haven't had a chance to spend as much time with my younger siblings as they've gotten older. But in the times I have had a chance to connect with them, it's been a blessing to see this commonality and this kindred. I mean, in more ways than one, that sense of closeness that's there. That I think is so important, that you've always drilled. I know at Rodney and I, no matter what, you make sure you protect your sister, at all costs, protect your sister. And, whatever you share with her, because that bond has always been, no matter what, she's going to get a call from me at some point. Hey, hadn't heard from you, just checking in with you, all those things that have been so important to have. So, yeah, man. Okay. you got a few more minutes in you?
I got a few more minutes for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let me jump on down to as you know, my platform, I really like to deal with health. And it is no surprise to you, I'm sure, maybe surprise to some folks who may watch this, but in terms of health and physical fitness and all those things, I was born from two great athletes, track star and a football player and basketball, volleyball, whatever else you all played. And so I got it honors to a degree. But you as a coach and living that lifestyle in terms of health, I think it's important for me to bring that out because that's what my platform is about, health. And on one of the flyers that you'll see, I talk about my genesis and that, you being an intricate part of my genesis in more ways than one, not just genetically, but also in the development of my career in terms of physical fitness, health, and all those kind of things. And so I want to go ahead and just kind of dive into that. Where did your passion for sports and physical fitness emerge? Where'd that come from?
From really not having any of these current day distractions like phones. And so, you kind of grew up with me in a sense of, you were not one that just stayed in the house. We were out in the streets. And so whatever sport was in season was what we were saying. Now, we were poor of what we were playing. So being poor, we didn't know it. We could care less. We had no idea we were poor, but our ingenuity toward making up for some things that maybe our parents couldn't afford, but I thought it was the next level. So when we were wanted to play basketball and we knew we wasn't getting the basketball court. There was no court, no gym. There was no rim being bought. It was either you find a place to go play or you build it. Well, ingenuity is we pulled out spokes out of a rim. We got on the truck and we nailed up a bicycle rim like so many Black kids back in the day did. But it's like we all knew that. I think we all kind of had that idea. It's like alcohol, At Budweiser, you got Coors, everybody, it starts somewhere, but you begin to really use those things around you and try to start building. So, being outside all the time and, you're hungry, but you don't have time to think about hungry. You drink out the water hose and, you continue playing. So I think just that love for the sweat and it was nothing else to do, you know what I mean, except run around and explore. We could ride our bikes from one side of town to the next.
For sure.
Parents didn't worry about it. It wasn't like somebody on the phone looking down and they run over you. You know, it was none of that.
Right.
You know, there's a probability of that. That's a high probability of that happening today. And you can be walking. So just being outside, man. And so then after having nephews and kind of seeing that they took an interest in what I was doing, we were also in that, you know, that same age group, Anthony, Philip, Larry,
Right.
you know, even Mike came around and but that was the main crew. So we all kind of just stuck together and rode bikes, man. And so, you know, my love for physical fitness, I love the way it made me feel, you know, in terms of being able to do anything, play any sport, not tired. It wasn't, you know, the health benefit, we had no idea. We
Sure.
didn't care about that. It was just doing what we love to do. But as you get older, you start to realize that by keeping those regimens, it tended to help you have a better quality of life as you get older.
Yeah.
You know, some of the aches and pains that I see a lot of people go through, you know, naturally, you know, we have a disposition of wanting to help everybody, you know, give them, you know, advice on what we know. Excuse me. Some people take it, some don't. But, you know, once you come to grips with, you know, I tried. And, you know, I tried to give you what I knew that would really work. And that's all you can do. You can't force them to do anything. But, you know, just for me, knowing that how huge that is with how I feel today, you know, it's something that I feel like you have to constantly show people that, and I don't think constantly, not for your own self-worth or self-value, but be a testimony to show that, look, even at this age, you still can go ride a bike. You still can play basketball. You still can, you know, and then, you know, just be very conscious of it. So I think all of that shaped who I am today, is just knowing that you know, that physical fitness stuff, man, is terrific.
Absolutely. Well, and absolutely, firstly. And then influences. I mean, you were the youngest out of 13 kids?
No, just 10.
10, okay. So you were the youngest out of 10 kids. How did that have an impact on who your influences were in terms of athletes? Obviously, you had 5 older brothers.
Right.
And then I'm sure, you know, of course, you had granddaddy, and then television. Who were your top 3 influences, and how did that come about?
Number one, I would have to say, being younger, it had to be my environment, my neighborhood.
Okay.
Because in my environment were, you know, the Damon Polks and the Junior Millers and Dwight Washington and all these super great, what I looked up to be great athletes. They were 4 or 5 years older than me. So that was the big one, was my environment. Number 2 was my brothers. You know, your Uncle Victor being one, who was a big time into bodybuilding, and spending time with him and watching his body go through the growth and the impact it had, even with how he felt, but in the community. I mean, just with seeing a guy that can lift that much weight, you know, it really caught me off guard too. But I like the fact of being able to be strong. So that was number 2. And then number 3, in terms of my idols in the sports that I chose, were, you know, the Walter Paytons, and, you know, the NFL during that era were our first in basketball players too, Dr. J. So we watched and played everything. So I think that whole, it's all of those ingredients that really shaped, you know, where I was in terms of what I look at it even today, and what I still, the messages I still push today, because I know that they're solid and they're built in real life principles where it will give you that sustainability to be well later in your years.
No doubt, no doubt. Shout out to Coach Victor. Well, your coach, Uncle Vic.
Yep.
Well, and as you know, there's a lot of changes that are happening just in the educational institution, and it has been for some years as it relates to PE, physical education, and those kind of things. What's your thoughts about that, and how do you view that, especially you knowing the benefit of being physically fit as a kid, and then of course the long-term ramifications that it have, or the long-term impact that it has. How do you feel about that? And I'm assuming I'm assuming that it would be appropriate to say that you're an advocate for physical education. But what's your thoughts about the changes that have happened within education related to PE or athletics in general?
Here's what the deal is, Rod. That's such a big, huge, I mean, I could go on and on that deal, but I will say this, that, and, sports have been exploited, you know what I mean, in a sense to where, kids now, it's for the people who have money. Mm-hmm. So where it used to be pretty much free, I got my helmet and my equipment from the local YMCA, like so many of us that was on that played these sports. Mm-hmm. So our parents, we could afford some shoes from Payless, but it wasn't Nikes. Well, you didn't play basketball all year round. So now AAU, there's basketball all the way around. Well, picture this, if you will, on this deal. This is a first class scenario here, where before, and I want to use a girl in this sense, because I see this and I hate it, because you got young girls who come into junior high, for example. Well, they get a chance to play on a UIL organized team, okay? Mm-hmm. Coached by a coach who gets paid through the school system, who's supposed to be professional enough to make them better. Mm-hmm. Well, here you have in that same line trying out for volleyball, for example. These same girls who've been playing since they were in 4th grade, okay? And the way they've been playing is because they've got an older sister who also came through the exact same private coaching, the access to traveling to go play in these tournaments starting in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. By the time they get to 7th grade, the girl who didn't have the money, whether white, black, Spanish, doesn't matter, the girl who, and it's not all racial in these things. What this is about is it's financial. What can you afford? Mm-hmm. So these girls wound up getting left out. Well, guess what you're gonna get when you got girls and boys too alike who do not have access to these programs that will give them that physical fitness, that will give them that outlet, give them something to do. So they wind up walking the halls because they're not good enough. They're not gonna make that team. Mm-hmm. They're just not, and you get enough of them, and now it's everywhere. That goes from baseball, AAU, basketball, AAU. Lo and behold, if those kids come back to the high school, soccer, girls soccer, your sister is one of them. She play every weekend, have been since she was in 4th grade. And now you show up to a high school soccer team, and most every girl on that team has been playing, AAU, so to speak. Then these girls who just want to play soccer, who've been playing in the front yard with their cousin, and they finally learn how to kick a ball straight. And then you got these girls running around you who can spin, who can dribble it up, pop it over your head, and then kick it in the top right-hand corner.
Right.
And they've been doing that. So that's the big distinction. So guess where those kids go? They go into the physical education program. Still an athlete. Doesn't mean they're any athlete, but mentally they're broken in a lot of times because they weren't good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did as a kid, but they played in the rec league. They played YMCA and through the church leagues where these other girls been playing AAU. So they've got this thing towards sports. Well, I don't like sports. I hate sports. When really they love it. So that toll that's taken on young girls and young men too, young boys, often results in picking up weight. Mm-hmm. They are mentally distraught. They've got things that may be going on in the home, which every home does.
Sure.
They're going through these things, and the one common base that I've learned over the years that helps you deal with those things is body in shape. It's a great distraction.
Yeah.
classes know that there's not a basketball being pulled out. You know, we pull it out if we do, it's the last 10 minutes of class. But Monday is marathon mile day, and we're gonna run a mile, and most of them can't do it, but they eventually will.
Right.
Run a mile, but we started Tuesday, work abs, and I've been doing this for 23 years now. With you're gonna work abs on Tuesday, Wednesday is upper body, so we're doing push-ups, backs, and then Thursday we're doing leg stuff, and then Friday we stretch. So once they now know this routine at the school I'm at now. I've been in schools where I've been there for 5, 6, 7 years straight, and the whole PE department, girls are now off of high blood pressure medicine, or they're no longer taking their diabetic medicine. And parents who come up and tell me that, I've had a girl who lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Program, and because she got turned on to the diet part of it and the exercise, and she couldn't even run 5 steps when she started. But it's a session with making sure that she's able to get to where she's trying to go. And so we stick it out every single day. She show up. She some days wanted to come in and sit down, and I jumped her, and she wound up years now. It put maybe another 10 or 15 years on her life. So PE is very, very important, and the schools now being so educated based and testing based that they were almost a few years back willing to do away with physical education. But the United States is not. I mean, we're leading the world in terms of where our young children are with obesity. We're leading the world.
For sure.
Right? So that should be the last thing you want to take away. But luckily, they didn't do that. So now it's just about impact and teaching them things that otherwise they wouldn't know, and then give them that good foundation. Because not everybody can be a Division I athlete, and you don't need to be.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, just as we're wrapping this up, something I think that is important in lieu of all of the what I've been reiterating, a term that I've learned in one of my classes a couple of years ago, and that's hypercomplexity. Hypercomplex changes that we're going through all at the same time. And when we look at athletics, having the ability to not only teach you so many core principles about life and being able to really develop many transferable skills, no matter what field you go into, diversification and the exposure to a variety of different groups, different thinking, culture, so many different things that athletics get an opportunity to expose you to. If you had to just give kind of a one statement, one paragraph, how important has diversification been in your career as an athlete and as a coach? And I'll leave it there because there's so much that can really be said about that.
And really, that's a pretty recent conversation for me with some guys. With that, number one, I've been in it long enough to see this transformation to where the one thing that we had in this world was that didn't involve politics. And if it did, it was behind closed doors.
Sure.
Wasn't out there as loud as it is today. But this was the one thing that didn't involve color either. You played for the school color. So the diversity on the team was crucial to you getting into those lives of maybe a white teammate or Spanish teammate, going home with them and seeing what they do, eating their food and getting these things otherwise you wouldn't get. It's sports is a life-changing, thing for young men and women who otherwise, who knows what would happen? I mean, we know the things that could happen, but which path they would choose, you just don't know. But, some of them are just not good. So keeping that world of athletics and the world of physical fitness and the physical part of health and take the mental health of taking care of yourself, giving them these tools to, to really have as a basis to function and thrive and not go backwards and start playing head games with yourself. Because as you know, at this time of your life too, your biggest enemy is you. your biggest opponent is you.
Yeah.
It's not somebody outside, but so often we create these things in our mind with telling, well, I wonder what they're saying about me. Who cares? And who knows that they're even talking about you?
Right.
You know, you have no proof. That's just something you said to yourself that you threw out there that really is an excuse for you to continue doing the BS that you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Where when you take that away and you start stripping these things that maybe have been given to you, it ain't like you necessarily had an original thought. It's something that whoever was in your environment, they felt that way about it. So guess what happens most often? You feel that way about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mean you do, it's just you see the reaction of how it makes them feel, and you adopt that a lot of times, and it ain't necessarily yours to carry. You may not feel that way.
Yeah.
So, the big teaching with kids in terms of taking these steps of transitioning from maybe you're not going to get a scholarship. Maybe high school is as far as you're going to go. But that guy who goes Division I and you go into air conditioning and heating, or you go into being an electrician, you're going to go off from this path with the exact same lessons because they're both going to require hard work.
That's right. That's right.
So that basis of getting, and I think that's what sports is teaching young men, as long as it's protected in terms of who's the influences in the game, because it is something so much bigger than sports, bigger than wearing the jersey and the helmet. As you know, there are things that you get from being in a dressing room, that diversity that you don't get at home. It's getting other opinions, where at home, most kids may be getting this one very one-sided view that's going to contrast with what they see. And it makes them question which is right. And then I think somewhere in that gap, in that void, is where you begin to find yourself. So I think that's sports offer kids that you can't get out of an English class, and you're not going to get it out of a math class. The curriculum, there's nothing in the curriculum that offers anything that will give you that support in handling the emotional roller coaster that comes with being a sports member.
No doubt. You very well answered. Again, knowing that that's another loaded question when we talk about sports and all of the benefits that comes from participating in sports. If I could say it this way, an athletic program, especially in a very diverse community. And I'm very aware, and I know that we're both very aware that diversity doesn't necessarily mean having different ethnic groups, because you can have the same ethnic group in a room and still have just as much diversity, because people's backgrounds and their own communal cultures and cities and all those kind of things can have a huge impact on the way that you may get exposed to very diverse, have a very diverse experience. But it is something to be exposed to other groups. I think about the Olympics and how the Olympics, it's like athletics is a microcosm of what the aims and goals are for the Olympics. And that's to bring all these very different kind of talent together, and to expose, compete, but to really showcase the central unity that's there, and the commonality that we all have, no matter what part of the world that you come from. So I think I've kept your time for more than enough, man. I'm so appreciative of your time. And so I'm not going to hold you too much long, because I know that you go to bed late and you get up very early. So that being said, legacy or legend? Most important to you, legacy or legend?
Legacy, for sure.
Okay.
Legacy.
Okay. Impact or influence?
Both. Do I need to pick one?
If you had to pick one.
Impact.
A call coming through. Sorry, went on mute. Okay.
Yeah, impact.
Impact. Okay. Why legacy? Why impact?
Legacy, I think, because of my kids, number one, who will continue, you guys, who will continue to follow and affect and touch and, carry this message on about, look, you're going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? It's, the reality of, look, we don't have a lot of time here. You don't have time to waste with nonsense. Try to stay on track with the next generation that's coming and continue to spread this information that's important for survival. So I think that's key with continuing to build, even in my years of, I'm continuing to build my legacy with once I'm gone, then I know that, there will be something, and it's not all financial, but it's the relationship and those core principles, and not be sad, but be more like, shoot, he gave me enough. I'm good. He was here and I want y'all to feel that way. So I think that's important to me. Impact, because I think impact is something that happens almost immediately. And it has to be enough to hold the attention to learn. Because if it's just influence, of course, many categories, that's a rabbit hole in terms of influence, because it could be good ones, it could be bad ones, it could be influencing people in the wrong way to do something that's self-motivated. It has nothing to do with them. That's right. So I think impact is one solid word that happens almost immediately after a few words. So when you impact somebody, it's something that it's instant. It's not something that continue to shape someone else's. One of them shapes behavior in one sense, and I think impact changes behavior completely. You know what I mean? And impact is more powerful.
No doubt. Okay, final words. And we out this piece.
Man, I just want you to know I'm proud of what you're doing. We had this conversation during your interview, but I think, again, it's important that, I'm proud of what you guys are doing, what you're doing, and your drive and your stick-to-itiveness with not being denied. And as me and you continue to open up more doors and ideas and things to come, I think just being and having brothers and cousins who are now in this world of really understanding that there's a whole nother way to do things and to live and create this better way of life, man. So I think that's it. So if families out there, and if you are out there and you have not impacted somebody, then I think it's time that you stop thinking about you and start impacting somebody else.
Beautiful. Great words of wisdom to end the show with. Again, Pop, I love you. Thank you for your encouragement, for your love and your support. And man, that's another great interview for the H2O podcast. And here's where we end it. So there you go. All right, Papa, we're going to close the meeting now. Appreciate you. I want to close out with my intro song, and then I'm going to just give you a little quick call afterwards.
You got it. All right. Take care, Rob.
All right. Appreciate you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Been waiting all my moment to hear. Next it's time to optimize. H2O's essential to life. Give it a try.